A reading from the book of 1 Samuel. Today is September 2nd. Our reading from 1 Samuel is chapter 13. Saul was years old when he became king, and he reigned over Israel 2 years. Saul picked 3,000 Israelites, of whom 2,000 were with Saul in Michmas and in the hill country of Bethel, and 1,000 with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. The rest of the troops he sent back to their homes. Jonathan struck down the Philistines' prefect in Gibeah, and the Philistines heard about it. Saul had the ram's horn sounded throughout the land, saying, "Let the Hebrews hear." When all Israel heard that Saul had struck down the Philistines' prefect, and that Israel had incurred the wrath of the Philistines, all the people rallied to Saul at Gilgal. The Philistines in turn gathered to attack Israel. 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and troops as numerous as the sands of the seashore. They marched up and encamped at Michmas, east of Beth-aven. When the men of Israel saw they were in trouble, for the troops were hard-pressed, the people hid in caves, among thorns, among rocks, in tunnels, and in cisterns. Some Hebrews crossed the Jordan to the territory of Gad and Gilead. Saul was still at Gilgal, and the rest of the people rallied to him in alarm. He waited 7 days, the time that Samuel had set. But when Samuel failed to come to Gilgal and the people began to scatter, Saul said, "Bring me the burnt offering and the sacrifice of well-being." And he presented the burnt offering. He had just finished presenting the burnt offering when Samuel arrived, and Saul went out to meet him and welcome him. But Samuel said, "What have you done?" Saul replied, "I saw the people leaving me and scattering. You had not come at the appointed time, and the Philistines had gathered at Michmas. I thought the Philistines would march down against me at Gilgal before I had entreated the Lord, so I forced myself to present the burnt offering." Samuel answered Saul, "You acted foolishly in not keeping the commandments that the Lord your God laid upon you. Otherwise the Lord would have established your dynasty over Israel forever. But now your dynasty will not endure. The Lord will seek out a man after his own heart, and the Lord will appoint him ruler over his people, because you did not abide by what the Lord had commanded you." Samuel arose and went up from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin. Saul numbered the troops who remained with him, about 600 strong. Saul and his son Jonathan and the troops who remained with them stayed in Gibeah of Benjamin, while the Philistines were encamped at Michmas. The raiders came out of the Philistine camp in 3 columns. One column headed for the Ophrah road that leads to the district of Shual, another in the column headed for Beth-horon road, and the third column headed for the border road that overlooks the valley of Zeboim toward the desert. No smith was to be found in all the land of Israel, for the Philistines were afraid that the Hebrews would make swords or spears. So all the Israelites had to go down to the Philistines to have their plowshares, their mattocks, axes, and coulters sharpened. The charge for sharpening was a pim for plowshares, mattocks, 3-pronged forks, and axes, and for setting the goads. Thus on the day of battle no sword or spear was to be found in possession of any of the troops with Saul and Jonathan. Only Saul and Jonathan had them. Now the Philistine garrison had marched out to the pass of Michmas.